The next race is 25 hours. I think we did like 1,900 kilometers.
It does have that barra idle. So that Wurstmeister, is that how you say it, Luke? No.
I didn't say Wurstmeister. Oh, no.
Wow. What pads do you use?
I know what it is. Yep. I'll get back to you. RSL ones. And the best thing is, they never do a full 24-hour race. We wouldn't do it. Like, dude, we're in our 40s. No one wants to stay awake all night. Like, we want to race all day and go, oh, it's a big day, you know, do the brakes and do the oil, and then go smash beers with the boys upstairs.
More beers! Oh no, 5 beers!
And again, I am no CFD expert. We are just making this shit up as we go along. And that's basically the whole car. The fun starts when we get on the plane and we come here and we prep the car, we load the car, we get the fuel, you know, we drive over, we drive the entire way for like 7.5 hours, don't play one song, and we just talk constantly and just have a good time. We race and then we come back and the same thing again. So yeah, highly recommend people get into it if they want to do it.
Right, so I made the mistake, Luke, of giving you an Aussie Fullboost sticker. That's not going to work.
Yeah, it's got to be German colours.
German,
yeah.
So
well, it is a black and white one. It goes with the theme. Look at it. The benefit is that this car sounds just as bad as a Barra, so you'll fit right in. You're on brand.
That's a big stretch.
Look at that. Have you got a no boost sticker?
No boost. I was just thinking that. We often get asked at Fullboost, why don't you feature more circuit-based content? Well, the reality is it's quite hard to do with 1 or 2 people, but saying that, I thought this would be a great place to start. How did this all come about?
2019, bunch of mates, we've known each other for over 20 years. We said, let's do lemons, basically. 24 hours of lemons, I guess it started in the States and it came to Australia, and originally it's a 24-hour race with the absolute nugget, right? So we did a race in 2019. We just, you know, really kind of stock, like it was auto, stock suspension. We did some brakes in terms of pads and fluid and lines and tyres and seat cage and a bit of a strip, you know, pretty basic, and went for it, even as an auto, right? Yeah, then we started in motor events racing, which basically took over from Lemons in kind of 2020. And it's really good because it addressed a lot of the issues with Lemons, which was no one was really sure what was a race car or, you know, how far you could go, and it was more about themes and stuff, whereas motor events has got some really good rules.
I heard a lot of people that say online, or some guy turned up with a car that didn't meet the rules. Look, that's always going to happen in a lot of forms of motorsport.
Well, Lemons was like that, but motor events is really good. It's got some structure there now. So it's got some rules around what you can do to your car, so modification points, just to make sure it still stays really budget and, you know, really fair. And the best thing is that the whole culture behind it is still fun. Like no one's really there punching on and trying to win. Everybody's giving it a go. Like, you take a race car with a bunch of blokes to a racetrack, you're going to try and do better than the next guy, right? But we do it with fun. It's really fun.
I would have thought these sorts of events you wrap just to make the finish, aren't you?
A lot of it is about that, and the thing is, it's evolution. So we started with a completely basic vehicle, and then the best bit about it is between every race we go, oh, what can we do next? You know, and it's all DIY stuff. Like almost every car is DIY, varying levels of quality. There's always like aero made from like aluminium that's riveted together, stuff we can achieve. But this has come a long way in the last 5 years, because every time we're like, oh, okay, well, we broke that. What about this? And that's the most fun, because it's not just about going to the races, but we have been talking non-stop, more than we did before 2019, because it's like, oh, you know, found some new wheels, or what should we do about brakes? You know, so the whole journey just keeps going.
So you said you had the auto for one race and probably realised it wasn't best transmission.
Yep, it went from E46 auto to an E46 SSG. It's like a sequential manual thing. We basically Frankenstein like a shifter to make it manually shift. Did one race with that. Then we went to a proper 6-speed manual from the E46, and we ran that up until the last race, where we were breaking lots of stuff. So really light flywheel that we designed and made. It was a really fun setup, but with sticky tires, any misshift at all, up or down, would punish you. And then we ended up ripping the diff out of the cradle, that's like a bit of a BMW trademark. They like to rip diffs out of things.
These have half semi-strong diffs?
The diffs are, so it's got a reinforcing system in there, which is a pretty common thing to get a hold of to stop the floor cracking. But we just rip the diff right out. And you know what? Every race you go to, you can almost always find a BMW with a blown manual, a change in a gearbox, and probably some diff issues or a diff trying to leave the vehicle. So that's why we've made the most recent change to an 8HP, which is just finished, and our first race is going to be in 2 weeks.
So for those unaware, the 8HP it's used in a lot of cars. It's ZF8 speed, but it's quickly becoming a very popular swap, isn't it?
Oh, for good reason too. And the best thing is that we got the absolute garden variety 8HP in like 116, 118 BMWs because it's got a 450 Newton meter power rating. This isn't about power, it's a completely stock engine, and it's always going to be because that's not what this racing's about. So we can run the cheapest gearbox out of the most common vehicles, whereas you pay good money for the big torque ones, but we don't need it. And it went in with all BMW parts. So from a different BMW, but like the flex plate, the converter, the cross member, the tail shaft, it's a stock E46 tail shaft. Like mechanically, it all goes in.
So what converter are you using in it?
An N55 converter out of like an F chassis BMW.
Okay.
And it's got an N54 flex plate. And like a 4-cylinder BMW 8HP, and then to a stock E46 tail shaft.
So you haven't had to run any sort of adapter plate to fit it? Nothing.
Bolts up. A slot a hole or move one hole, but most of it bolts up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, really good.
So how about actually getting it to talk to everything? How does that work?
So it's running a CAN TCU. So there's a couple of options for running a trans, an 8HP. CAN TCU is basically the OEM version of an aftermarket trans controller. So there's others that can do all sorts of really cool stuff in 8HP. We need reliability. So basically it thinks it's in the original like F chassis. It acts like it because the car's got such little comparatively power and weight. Running just in a stock like performance manual mode that you get in a regular BMW, the shifts are super fast. Just does everything we need.
Yeah, so these other guys are trying to make custom setups because it's way overpowered, essentially.
And they're clutch kicking and stuff, but mate, as an auto, it like just with the manual shift control, because the best thing about it is they only shift when you want it to.
So you've got a sequential style manual shifter. You could put paddles on there or anything, couldn't you?
Yes, so we wanted to stick, I kind of said to the guy, I said, I don't care what we do, we're spending the money on a proper shifter, so it feels like a race car still, because paddles, like the Daily's got paddles, you know, like everything's got a paddle. I'm like, and I'm the one that's going to put it in to be a pain in the ass. So I like a stick, it still feels like it, you know.
And it's pretty quick from the videos I've seen.
The shift?
Yeah, the shift.
Oh yeah, they're fast, you know, they're really good.
So BMWs, you always say this has got engines, yeah? 3 litre, straight six.
I'm a straight six fan. I love the straight six. I think the layout, I mean, I've had RBs, I think they sound amazing. You know, BMWs have always done very good inline sixes. It's just a shame that this one sounds like a arse.
You said off camera, it's worse than a Barra, but
it sounds shit.
I'm struggling to comprehend.
I think it's because it's got 3 and 3, and then they don't merge together until like the muffler.
I noticed that. Yeah.
I think if it had a balance pipe, it'd be better, but I just haven't had a chance to try it. So it's a stock exhaust with like basically almost every muffler removed apart from a resonator and the cat's removed. But if we put a balance pipe in, I think it'll sound good, but I don't think it sounds the best. Like you hear it on the track and it doesn't make you go, ooh.
So what's the limitations of the car you can actually base this?
In the series?
Yeah, in the series.
So you got 5 modification points, and everybody, you quickly, I guess, congregate to the formula, which is 1 point for tyres, 2 for suspension, and 2 for brakes, which is something more than just upgraded pads and lines. We ran the 330 brakes for ages, and then we evolved to like some modifications to them, and then we finally evolved to, we just found a parts car with a bunch of stuff we wanted, including the MCA coilovers and the Porsche Brembos, which were a really common BMW swap, and they fit under the 17s. So still got stock rear 330s. Yep. It's just, braided lines, heaps of cooling modifications. You can spend points on the engine, on power, but you'd be mad. Like, it just will not survive. And, you know, anything you do to the engine apart from sticker, like you could do an intake and exhaust, that's free. Recently, they've said if you have to run an aftermarket ECU for like all the security and stuff, like you could just, that's free, which is pretty cool. But realistically, you know, if people want to turn up engine mods, they can give it a go. But we do, depending on which race it is, the next race is 25 hours. I think we do like 1,900 kilometers in a race.
Wow, okay.
To, even the thought of just having an upgraded camshaft a little bit, like, are the springs going to survive? So a lot of the mods is always about what did OEM do? Because you can beat it on an OEM car forever. So like if there's a heat shield, it stays. Unless I absolutely have to get rid of it, it stays, unless it's really heavy stuff. But yeah,
so engine, like the tune-up, that side of it's all 100% OE?
Correct.
Yeah.
I actually think the only thing we've done is they sort of electric thermostat and you can open it, like force it open more. But yeah, otherwise completely stock. And this is an unopened engine. We bought the car with like 125,000 Ks. We've probably put on 25,000 race Ks or something. The only thing I've done is I've had the sump off to put a baffle in the sump and change the rod bearings, BMW things. Upgraded oil pump because they like to disappear, and gaskets at the top end and sensors. First race was just garbage, like misfires. I'm coming in, misfire. And then it was like, to replace all the sensors on an E46, $500. It's not a big deal, maybe 600, I don't know. So we just put all new sensors in it and it's been gold since then.
So obviously a big part of this build, Luke, is, and a lot of us guys don't talk about it, is men's health, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I mean, we're all in our 40s, and there's so many guys in their 40s that kind of get to the point and they go,
you're a bit lost.
Yeah, we've got kids, we've got families, and we love that. It's like, but what do we do for ourselves? What's the thing that keeps us happy? And we've always been into cars, and we're like, well, let's do something fun together. And it's just stuck. And so many people that we meet and we do go, either they do it and they come to do it, or they want to do it, but they can't find enough mates to get together. And just having a release and having an outlet to stay happy. Like if you don't do it, when are you going to do it? You know what I mean? So we're like, what if I can't drive a car in 15 years, something like that? So there's a lot of really happy blokes up and down that pit lane that just enjoy getting out, having a release. It's super enjoyable. And and the series, caters to that. I'm not saying it's just blokes, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of women that come out, people bring their families. I mean, we've only done a race 12 months ago. Sometimes we've done 3 in a year, sometimes we only do 1 a year, but it's just, we look forward to it every time.
But that's only one part of it, isn't it? There's obviously a lot of prep with something like this.
Heaps of prep.
Even though people think it's budget, anything like you're talking endurance, like
but you start cheap. We started cheap, and then we did we've 5 years, right? Every time a bit, and sometimes you go, well, there's a bit of money, but to get to this stage, it is money, but it's the evolution, it's the build, and we enjoy building a car that lasts. We enjoy building a car that stays cool, and it's all of it, right? And we'll catch up, periodically and work on the car together. We get to see each other then. There's all these reasons to hang out with each other and just to be tight with your mates and just to have those friendships. Then we go out and we ask other companies that we know, either through work. Typically, it's either someone we work with or someone we know, and we say, you willing to kind of sponsor us a bit?
Yeah.
They know they're not getting a big lucrative deal out of putting a sticker on our car, but they do it because they know that they're helping us do something that we love.
So there's no limitations on that side of it?
Sponsorships?
Yeah, how's it? No?
Like, they encourage you to raise money. So the big premise behind motor events is to raise money for rare cancers, which I think they're over like 220 grand now in total race since they started, which is awesome. And they always do like if you do something wrong, you get a penalty. You can buy your way out. You can at the end of the race, no one's a winner because it's a regularity, but it's awards for most laps and stuff. And you can buy the win and all that sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean? So it's all about raising money as well. So sponsorships are great because it just means you can race more often. Do you know what I mean? You can do it more often, and it helps with the financial side of things. And the cars look better with stickers too.
What tracks have you raced at? Or have you?
We started at the Bend originally in 2019. We've done Winton, Phillip Island, Sydney Motorsport Park, Morgan Park in Queensland. This will be our 3rd trip to the Bend.
Yeah,
the Bend's like, it's the Bathurst of motor events, right? The track's amazing. It's 25 hours, and the best thing is they never do a full 24-hour race. We wouldn't do it. Like, dude, we're in our 40s. No one wants to stay awake all night. Like, we want to race all day and go, oh, it's a big day, do the brakes and do the oil, and then go smash beers with the boys upstairs.
4 beers. Oh no, 5 beers.
And then you race for 3 days. First as a half day, and then 2 full days. And then by the end of it, like, you just put your smouldering wreck back on the trailer, have some beers and go home the next day.
Didn't you? I remember you had a funny story about the brakes when you rolled it onto the trailer.
Oh, no, we rolled onto the trailer right off at the end of an event because it just kind of ended that way. And we strapped it down and we got halfway home and all the straps were loose because the tires had cooled down so much. The whole thing came loose and they kind of fell off. Sorry, the one you're talking about, last race at the Bend, we finished the race. We came first in class, ran the entire time, had no stoppages, unreal, heaps of fun, Went to the podium, you know, did the whole thing with champagne, and went, sweet, go load it on the trailer, and I hear a funny noise, and one of the pins from the caliper had slid out into the spoke, and like catastrophic problems. Like it's a hardened pin that holds the pads in those Brembos. Obviously it cooled down and just went, but that would have been bad, real bad on the track.
I noticed you've got your team here on the back window.
Yes. So left to right. So that's Sean. He's a fisherman now because he had a pretty spectacular crash at Morgan Park, and he found a body of water that no one knew existed because no one's ever crashed there. So he's a bit of a pioneer, so he's called the fisherman.
Wow.
That's me with the head missing because I'm taller than everybody. That's Adam, who's deadlifting because he's our resident tough guy. He's seats all the way forward. He's like a 200-litre drum in terms of, like, he's just such a bulk and mass.
So you're able to move that, obviously.
The seat slides, 100%. Yeah. Otherwise, I couldn't race, but those guys. But you get him in there, it's like, I don't even know how he swings his arms around, but we chuck him in somehow. And that's Sterl, who has a habit of catching himself in his zipper semi-frequently. Unless that was because one day we did a pit stop and he was off in the toilet when we really needed him. He's like, sorry, I just disappeared. So anyway, one or the other. But that's the four of us, yeah.
Is there anything else you're going to do on the car, or you're just going to try and maintain what this is? Or I noticed you just did that cool headlight.
We've just done heaps this last. So we finished the last race and we had like a broken diff mount and some issues, you know, just drivability. We thought, what could we do? And someone said, well, what about an 8-speed swap? And was like, that's a really good idea. It would give us reliability. It would make, on average, it'd make the team faster. So just in terms of drivability, make them quicker around the lap. So more consistent, because it's all about being smooth and consistent. And then as part of that, obviously it's got a big trans cooler. And then we're like, oh, okay, so the coolant temps are a bit high when we did a test day. So we've had to address some cooling. And then we also found an oil pressure issue that we've had forever. Now that we're finally logging oil pressure, because the CAN TCU's got input and output, we can actually log analog inputs, such as oil pressure, oil temps and stuff. And then we shoot it back out onto the E46 CAN bus, and that gets all logged as part of the race, and we can see it now. And then the benefit of knowing more is you get to see more problems. So we found that when we go to Winton, there must have been like 5 or 6 times around a lap, it'd go below like 20 PSI from cornering. Okay. And we've been racing it like that forever. This is the benefit of having bugger all horsepower. It lasts, right? It survives. So then it's got an accumulator to fix that problem. So yeah, but since the last race, it's been 8-speed swap, cooling mods, accumulator, and the dash. The dash is new as well.
Yep. You've obviously got a few sponsors on the car, Luke. Tell us a bit about that. I know some of these companies who do a bit of work.
I reckon you do know a few. Yeah. So obviously AIC's here. This is basically where it's spent the majority of its life, and it's going to have to go home soon. Being able to have the 3D scanner, 3D printer, workshop equipment, you know, it's fantastic, you know. So, you know, that's obviously where I work. Harrop is an affiliate company. Again, another company that's just helping us do what we want to do. They help out where they can in terms of like putting the LSD together, coolers and stuff like that. I mean, they're incredibly smart though. Harrop brakes are on the cards, but it does mean changing to 18s. They don't make a brake that'll fit under a 17. Mega Life, that's a mate from uni. All of us went to uni with him over 20 years ago. Lithium batteries, he just slung that to us straight away. No questions asked, so big respect for Mega Life. Recently we've got Nankang, so we started running Nankangs and the CRS, and they're just such awesome tyres. We run them on our fast cars as well, like, you know, not motor events cars and stuff like that, and they're awesome. And they came to the party and we love that, we love those tyres. And then, yeah, 313 Automotive, it's an affiliate through kind of work who was here. He runs an automotive workshop. It's 3 generations old in Sydney. And he said, love it, love what you're doing. He's just a guy that's helping us do what we want to do. And he's slinging us some support to help us go racing. He knew that this wasn't about him getting a lot more business in Sydney. But if anyone is in Sydney, Mike is a fantastic guy from 313, a very smart guy. So. Oh, and recently we've had Fullboost come on board. So still negotiating the arrangements there, but we'll figure that out.
The check's in the money, right?
Yeah, ready to bounce.
Lately, I've been watching a lot of, Misha videos from the ring, and obviously being in Europe, BMW is the car of choice, you'd have to say over there. What sort of cars do you see here at these events?
BMWs are really popular.
Still BMWs.
I mean, we sat down and we said, okay, what's going to be fun to drive? Because, I mean, anyone who wants to do budget racing, the car's the cheap bit. You don't buy whatever car your grandma's finished with or whatever. Like, don't get, a Camry or a Corolla. I mean, nothing against you if you want to run it, that's fine. But if you've got a free choice, pick something that's going to be enjoyable to drive. So we were narrowing it down to something like a Civic or a high power Clio, you know, like one of those 180 horsepower Clio or something like that. But realistically, it was going to be a rear wheel drive BMW. This one came up through Sean's work colleague, cheap because I had some gremlins, nothing that we couldn't fix. Yeah, so BMWs are really popular. There's a few freaks that run some Euro stuff like Italian and French things, and they give it a go. They try and stay alive. Subarus turn up, and there's actually a really successful Subaru that runs around, but most of them blow head gaskets. You know, it's Civics, stuff like that. Anyone who runs a Falcon and a Commodore, you always get a few of those, but they struggle with temps and stuff. Like it's always step one, diff cooler, like the very first thing you do because they're heavy, they've got torque. But Beamers are just a good size and they just work,
It's not an overly big car. So what year is this one?
2002. They made E46 from like 90 to 06 or something like that.
So years ago, I was looking at buying an E30 when they were actually affordable.
Yep.
BMW guy said to me, don't even bother, go 36 or 46. You've just got so many more part options.
You can still find 46s at the wreckers now, right? 36s are probably getting, like they're getting into their, E30s are like a HQ. Remember when raced them because they were cheap and they were like, we've crushed them all. And then E30s like that. 36s are kind of getting a bit harder to find in good nick. One of our friends that we've made as part of this series, not far from here, they run an E36, very competitive car. They do a really, really good job. They help us cut the stickers. That's the thing, right? We turned up, we straight up competed with them, and we've raced for wins multiple times. Sorry, fast, most laps. We call it wins, motor events don't call it wins. Anyway, everyone knows why they're there. And to the point where he came out here and he cut the stickers and I helped him scan his helmet and we helped them build their car and talk about their car. And we turn up and completely honest, like, you know, don't get me wrong, absolutely want to beat you. But, you know, like the most fun we have is racing together. So there is some good E36s out there as well,
Obviously from afar, a lot of cars look very similar, but this has got a lot of really cool little things. You want to run through some of the stuff you guys have done?
We've built cars, we've built four-wheel drives, we've built sprint sort of cars, you know, like fast cars, street cars, but there's just, everything is so different about it. So everything that we've done over the years, we've learned, I guess, is about, no matter what you ask for advice from people, like the 8HP, you know, oh, what size transcooler? It's like, oh, they're really good on temp, it's not a big deal, you don't need it. It's like, yeah, but do you run it flat out for 12 hours straight? And the answer is no, right? So that's what makes everything that we've done here really about either running for longer or just not stopping and stuff like that. So it's unique in every way. Every time you look at it, it's unique.
This is all fairly new, isn't it, Luke, some of this?
Yeah. So because we chunked a big transcooler in front of the radiator, immediately we went to Winton and we noticed like another 7 or 8 degrees coolant temps. So what happened is we put the transcooler in, which we didn't have before because of manual. We should have, we didn't do it. We've robbed a lot of the cooling capacity. So now I'm like, okay, we have to fix the coolant temp issue, which is what the vents are for. So we're hoping that will give us a lot of gains. The theory is obviously, if you stay in the front half of the bonnet, the hot air will come out and escape out. Back here is not ideal because this is a high pressure zone, so it'll force it back in. So we're hoping that will help us with coolant temps. And we're also putting an engine oil cooler in, which, like you said, takes some engine oil temp out of it, which should help the overall engine temp. But I couldn't put it in the front because we're full. It's radiator, it's 8 HP cooler, brake ducts,
air conditioning, mate.
Yeah, well, I wanted to remove the power steering cooler. Can someone in your cohort of people that watch videos tell me if you've got an Astra power steering pump, whether you need a cooler? Because I'm like, why should you need a cooler? Like, the BMW power steering pumps just explode. Like they don't last on track. So we found that out after one race. And then we went to Astra straight after that. But the thing is, it's just spinning at a constant speed, I think. So I don't know if it needs a cooler. Anyway, it's still there.
Was this something you needed or was this something cool you just wanted to do because you can?
So both. What happened was, so we got the transcooler. So we got a big set trab. The biggest one, I guess, we get our hands on and really fit in. So a 925. So it's just quite solid. And that runs obviously back to the 8-speed, and that's what we noticed sort of had an impact on the coolant temps because we've robbed a lot of the cooling. We kept all the OEM air damming where we can, and we've bolstered it up and taped it up to make sure that it's as efficient as possible. This is a really tasteful duct that I did very fast, but that's straight to the transcooler because there is an aluminium intrusion beam here, which we just cut a section out. But because we've got brake ducts here, we kind of just run out of space. What I ended up doing is that there is an oil cooler, engine oil cooler in the guard here. So we came up with a bunch of ideas, and I guess this is the one that lasted the floaters at the top. And I forgot to mention, when we went to Winton, we actually started logging oil temp as well. And we saw it 135 degrees. So we've been running, and that was only like 18 degrees at Winton, right? It wasn't even a hot day.
So it's always been doing that?
Always. So we run this thing for like 20, 30,000 Ks.
Had you never logged this before?
Huh?
Had you never logged it?
I think we're logging it wrong.
Yeah.
We knew it was wrong and we never kind of fixed it, but it kept running. It just, because it's stock, it just keeps going. If it had any horsepower, it would have thrown a big end and it would have destroyed itself 1 hour. So we've gone, okay, oil temp is a problem in itself, as well as helping the coolant temp. And then we had the oil pressure as well. Basically, the air comes in here into this half of the duct. So this duct is separated into two.
Yep.
And it runs, there's an upper chassis rail here, and it runs through here, and then it's ducted through the cooler, and it comes out the vents on the side. So that is very much a functional thing.
Would that help draw the air out?
The theory is that it's got a gurney flap here.
Yeah.
And again, I am no CFD expert. We are just making this shit up as we go along. And that's basically the whole car. The air will trip over here. There's a whole lot of stuff around tire outwash we haven't mucked around with. We're just trying to get this thing on. And the idea is that it'll kind of give it a little bit of a zone here where it'll want to come out. Just passively being there will help. But we're gonna find out. We're gonna run it, and we can't be any worse than we were before. So we're gonna find out. So recently, it's got an M3 oil filter housing, just because that's got the ability to have dash lines on it. It runs out through aluminium hard lines to the cooler, back through here, check valve, and then the accumulator dumps into that, and then it comes back. Hard lines were essential just because of real estate. So we've notched out the guard. And
there's a lot of thought gone into this.
There's a lot of 3D scanning and CAD work, yeah. A lot of late nights. One of the guys on the team designed this, maximum credit to him. He did an awesome job. The best thing about it is that we managed to capitalize on a cold air intake as well. Oh, he's filming it. It's meant to look like a professional race team.
That's really cool, man. Yeah, I can see why you've used hardline there.
Yeah, so the benefit of being able to scan it quickly is I knew what I had to play with. This is basically our duct now. That's our intake duct. All the air from the front gets forced through. It's kind of all sealed up with that aluminium tape that I love.
Yeah.
It's got an air dam down there to make sure that any air that does go in has to exit through the cooler. And then it's basically sealed up to the cooler. You know, might do a little bit more tape. And then effectively, yeah, whatever gets forced in has to come through it. So the hard lines are really nice to work with. And it just makes it, I don't really like running big braid lines. They're really kind of annoying, I guess. They take up a lot of space. So I had to do it from the engine, obviously in a flex. That's been a fun project. This is the sort of weird shit that we love.
This actually takes up a lot of room in the engine bay, really.
Yeah, there's not tons of space. I mean, you're not going to fit a turbo in there if you wanted to do it. Like it's tough. Like it gets done, but it's tough, right? So
is this all being
so that's it.
Yeah, what's going on here?
So we did a brake booster delete. Basically, you just get better feel out of it. There's a guy in Canada who makes a booster delete, and it's genius. Like, we don't want a pedal box. They're really hard to mount. Like, you know, they're actually really hard to kind of work with and mount, particularly with multiple leg links and stuff. This just goes where a booster was. It takes 2 Tilton master cylinders and a Tilton balance bar. We can basically retain our drive-by-wire throttle. We can retain our clutch when we had a clutch, which was really good for us. We didn't need to re-engineer everything. And we can now have proper brake balance adjustment, because we obviously went to the Brembos. We needed to make sure it was actually going to use pads evenly, because you'll very quickly run out of pads if you're not using them evenly over 12 hours.
What pads do you use?
I know what it is. Yeah. I'll get at you. RSL 1s in a Padgett, Hello Padgett. Yes. We've gone through a few different pads, and these have just been great. They always hold on well. There's an Astra power steering, and then the accumulator is a new addition. So that's controlled by the CAN TCU as well. So that CAN TCU has been so good. Right. So we logged the air pressure side and we logged the engine oil pressure through the CAN TCU, and then we can use that to determine, because it switches on not below, let's say 3,000 RPM, because you don't want to dump when you're idling around. And then we pick a set point, so maybe below 30 PSI, fill it. And it'll just fill whatever holes it can in the dips in the track, depending on the track and how it's driving. So we don't know what it's going to look like yet, but with the logs, we can actually see when it's running out of oil from the air pressure side, and it's running out of push. So that's going to be fun for us to play with as well. But other than that, completely stock motor, poly engine mounts, as I said, some gaskets, coils, you know, all the maintenance stuff. But like a stock airbox. So in our airbox now, we've cut a nice big fat hole in here, and half of our, what used to be a headlight, pumps air directly in, like right into the airbox. Like, it's a huge air intake, it's beautiful. But that's pretty much the engine, right? There's not much going on. It's just keep it reliable. A couple of mods, like, we wanted more camber. So we got MCA, so we cut and shut and welded to just get all of the camber in, because it's just garbage if you don't. Take out weight where you can.
What does it weigh?
Heaps. Like it's like 1240 without a driver, something like that, maybe 1230. I haven't weighed with 8 HP. So I don't think I'll get a chance tonight, but I'll let you know, and you can put it in a little sub bar.
Yeah, lightweight.
Luke, is this green? Is this an OE?
So OE is kind of green.
Kind of green.
Actually, I think it's that one there. But being the car that it is, I went to Bunnings and I went to the colour chart with my kids, and we picked tropical moss from the Dulux colour range, and we got a tin of tropical moss paint from Bunnings, and we painted it with a paintbrush. I don't like overspray, so I mean, it's fine. It does the job. I mean, I've already spilt brake fluid on it. It's all come out, so.
Easy to clean.
Yeah, or easy to repaint, cheap to repaint.
Yeah.
You can't argue with Bunnings colour matching.
So this shifter, we see the guys on 8-speed.
Yep.
Quite a bit, so.
Yeah, it's made by, I think the company's called DCT or something, but it's, a lot of people resell it. It feels really nice. Like, it's got a really good mechanism in there, and it feels, we thought about putting a sim shifter in stuff. It's like, in the heat of the moment, you're really going to start banging on it. So we got something dedicated, made a plate for it. This is a keypad to pick between park reverse, neutral drive, and then auto manual mode.
So does that same software run all that?
Yeah, so the CAN TCU that's down there does all of the controls, like CAN keypad and the shifter. It spits all that information back out onto the E46 CAN bus, which means we can have it on our dash and stuff like that and log it through the race logic. So this dash is from OG Innovations, guy up in Queensland, customized for us. So we're working, our fuel level, our trans temp comes from the CAN TCU. All of our oil pressures, ESC condition, because some of the guys drive on different levels of ESC. The car still has ABS, the factory ABS and ESC, and it's come in handy whenever it rains, really handy. But yeah, other than that, we've got a diff cooler pump, which is super quiet. We've got electric power steering, lift pumps, main and reserve pump, and the brake, tilt and brake balance adjuster.
Do they run all the time?
Well, what usually happens is I don't like to turn the diff pump on when it's cold, because like pumping honey.
Yeah.
So we say, let's do a few laps and then we'll turn it on. And then we forget for about 2 hours and we go, shit, and then we go and turn it on. Other than that, yes, they run all the time, except when you're low on fuel, and then you've got to switch the lift pumps off because you don't want to run them dry. And then when you start to fuel surge, you turn the main pump off and you go to reserve and you flick them over. And then you run a reserve down to the very, very bottom of the surge tank, and then you refuel. So there is a bit in it, but there's 4 of us. So, there's people at the pit saying, all right, where are you at? What's your fuel level? And, they'll remind you, right? And they'll talk you through it. So it's not just on the drive. You're not out there alone. There's someone always talking shit in your ear. The comm system is fun. Like, it only took us 4 years to figure it out, but that's mostly because we stuffed it up. But having a good comm system, so push the torque button. So I basically use the clock spring wire. So because of the airbag on the E46, there was a pair of wires that came through the clock spring. So I didn't have to do the coil thing. So it just goes through there. It runs up over here, and the two-way, the radio sits on the cage. So every driver gets in and they've got a helmet harness, and it just plugs in here. And so that's their comms. And yeah, basically push to talk, and you hear from the aerial on the roof, and you get race radio and you get the pit radio in there.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, because you're in the car 90 minutes. That's a long time to concentrate.
Yeah, 90-minute max stint, and it can be over 30 degrees. And your job is to go out there and be as consistent as possible. You've got to be fast, but you also don't want to destroy the car. You don't want to cook the tyres, the brakes. You can't drop it, because if you drop it or you put a wheel off the track, you've got to self-report, and you've got to do something dumb like running a hula hoop for a while, and you lose time. So you've got to be smooth, consistent, no penalties for as long as possible. And that might be till a red flag. It might be till we run out of fuel. We don't have good fuel range. That's the one thing we don't have. So you want 3 hours of fuel range, so you can do 2 90-minute stints. We don't have that. We've probably only got like 2.5 hours, something like that at best.
Is this a bolt-in cage, or is it?
No, it's a welding cage. So it's like a state level cage that Brown Davis did for us. So when we got the car, it was kind of, here it is, do a cage, a seat. So we supplied a velo seat with sliders, and they basically mounted that up for us. So just made it a bit easier. They made it so I can just fit in, and then the other guys just don't get to see as much ground in front of the car. Better them be low than me have my head touch the roof. We had a lot of fuel surge issues, so we needed a surge tank, and we also needed a diff cooler, because we put an LSD in straight out of China. And it was supplied by a guy near here. And to be fair, it's been amazing. Like they've done a very good job of copying an OS Geek and whatever they copied. We've run it for ages and we haven't even opened it up and checked it. Like I've changed the oil and we ran in one race at Phillip Island and we came in for a pit stop and we stop, we go drive off and it's going, and it's like it's clacking and it's really annoying. Like the tires are red hot and sticky, everything's just pissed off and we're like, oh yeah, okay. So put a cooler in it and the temps have been great ever since. So we didn't want to firewall the back of the car. Like you'd have to firewall because of the fuel system. So we built this aluminium tray. So it is bolted down normally. And in here we have this is our surge tank.
This is pretty funky.
Yeah, so again, bit of a scan, some CAD. It's not super CAD design, but basically to maximize the space. It's got a little bowl at the bottom, just to make sure that, and we've got some cheap Warbros, they're pretty cheap. They're like $120 for a pump.
Yeah, but it's not like you've cut all the fluorite, that you've still got the tyre well and...
We kind of shortened that and we probably had to do a little notch here. But the main thing was, that's just run some Warbros and a twin pump hanger. We're about to do another mod actually for a level center. We've got no level center in here, so you can kind of be guessing. But they're cooler, so effectively tilt and pump because there was really no other option and they're not that expensive realistically for a continuous duty cycle one. We punched out the front of the wheel well, so there's mesh there, so it picks up air from under the car. It comes into this area, which is sealed as a box, and then it...
Which explains why it's dusty.
yeah, well, and I don't clean it. And then the cooler has got a duct here. So basically this is a little dam that's all duct. So any air that gets forced in here has to go through the cooler and exit out the backside. So yeah, we didn't have to duct the in and the out, just the out effectively. I need a pointy finger. Look, it works really well. We haven't bothered finessing it. We just jammed it in and it's been really good. So effectively, we welded a fitting on the back cover. We did go to shorter gears.
Yeah.
I think factory it runs 3 3s in an auto or something. And weirdly, BMWs run a longer diff in a manual, like a 308 or something. But we're now at 3 6s.
So what do you turn this to?
Revs wise, not a lot, or they blow up.
Yeah.
It's an M54 B30, and they like to blow up if you rev them. So I think it's like, it doesn't do much above 6. So you kind of shift up. We used to sometimes, the only time you'd stretch it out is if you're like at Winton trying to go between turn, flip flop, hit the wall, and then up the crest to turn 3, whatever you call it. And with the manual that was in it, like you don't want to change gears, so you go just for a sec. But with the 8-speed, mate, we went to Winton, and obviously the ratios are different, but where you do need to change gears, it will do it anywhere. Like you could be braking, you could be on an apex, like transitioning from brakes, like right at the apex, and you just go, I just want to go down a gear now. And it doesn't upset the car at all.
Yeah, really.
And then you come out of a corner, and again, not a lot of horsepower, you come out, where otherwise in a manual with a button clutch, you wouldn't be slamming the gear because you probably upset it. You just pull a gear and it doesn't care. On a curb, cornering, doesn't care.
So the car's quicker, but also I'd have to imagine it's less tiring for the driver.
It will be, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be. So we had to concentrate more on other stuff. But yeah, lithium battery, and then, MCA reds all round, with appropriate spring rates. I'd tell you what they were if I knew. And there's a little aluminium tube to make sure it's firewalled to get from the OEM tank out. I mean, the next thing to do, you can have a 120 litre fuel tank, of which we're currently sitting at, I don't know, like total of like 75 or something, or 70 or whatever. You've got to put a whole custom thing in, and we just don't want to do that yet.
That Megalife battery, is that one of the ones that you can, and it goes flat and you just sort of prime it?
It's got a button.
Yeah, it's got a button on it.
This one here, that one. We've never needed it.
Yeah.
It's always worked.
But cool idea, yeah?
Yeah, it is a cool idea, and it's super light. And again, a mate from uni, and he just said, I've got one in seconds that's, got some cosmetic damage. It was perfectly fine. He's full of shit, but he gave it to us and it's been great. It's easiest weight saving, like it's so good. And, with new tech, you're kind of like, oh, is it gonna last, mate? It's been sitting around for 5 years. Sometimes I charge it, sometimes I don't. It's just been good. So, yeah.
There you go. That's a good real world case study. Oh, here we go. It does have that Barra idle. Did you have to do any modifications to fit the box?
I made a cross member, but I didn't have to. I just didn't realise I could use a BMW cross member.
So this is one of the easiest cars to adapt it into?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, very good. There's a recipe for it. Camber arms came on the parts car that we found. We got the HEL braided lines made in Brisbane all through it. you know, stock arms otherwise. Because it's a 330, they come with mega, like they're really chunky.
Yeah.
And for the power that it's got, we're never going to break an axle, I wouldn't think. It's super over-engineered for that way. But yeah, it's got some polybush subframe, reinforcing plates welded in for the subframe and stuff like that. So, and then muffler delete across the back. I think that's all that's different is we've got muffler delete and we've got the cats missing. Other than that, it's just a stock exhaust. Last race we started, we thought we were all ready, all prepared, and we rolled out for the warm-up laps and we had no ABS, no ESC, none of that. And it's like, you know, what is it? And basically we changed out the arms for new bearings and the connector in here for the wheel speed sensor. One of them, we unplugged the old laptop that talks in German, and it basically said the wheel speed sensor was open circuit on whatever the German word for right-hand rear is. So we replaced both for Deutsch connectors, just things like that, right? You just don't see it till you hit the track. So yeah, it's a challenge, but you know, just little things every time, just protecting it, making it a bit better. All the factory heat shields, never ever, like they weigh nothing. You'd be insane to get rid of them. Okay, I may have chundered that one a bit. It's got the regular kind of like aftermarket, you know, flat aluminium disc that pumps air directly to the center of the rotor. But we realized that if we keep the OEM one and modify it with a hole, we've got the actual heat shield for like things like the ball joints and the boots and stuff. Whereas, you know, that concern was there's a red hot rotor right there all day, right next to that boot and stuff. So, you know, it doesn't weigh much. They're an aluminium shield. That sort of stuff, you know, keep it all for sure.
So that Wurstmeister, is that how you say it, Luke? No.
I think it's Wurstmeister.
It's got a bit of a funny meaning if you don't know your German, yeah?
Yeah, well, we are Shwarze Wurst Motorsport, so Black Sausage Motorsport, because it was a black sausage when we got it. And then we rebranded to Wurstmeister. Basically, there's a BMW livery called Turbomeister, which looks pretty cool, I think. So it's the same thing, orange and black, but with like gold wheels. We used to have gold wheels.
Yeah.
So yeah, we went Sausage Master, basically. Just something unique. We couldn't tell which car it was. Like they'd come out in the front straight and we're like, is that our car? Because it was black, it was like, meh. So we needed to make a pop. So that's where the orange came from.
We'll follow you at the bend in a couple of weeks, but good luck. But as you said, it's all about fun.
It is. It's all about fun. Unless we win, then it's about winning.
We caught up with you, what, 2 weeks ago when you were prepping the car, but it's been a pretty good few weeks, hasn't it?
It's been great. We had a great time.
Yep.
Very enjoyable race.
So the long and the short is you basically won your class?
Outright, actually,
Yeah.
as well. Yeah, I mean, we are in ME1, which is the top category. They do have opens there, but yeah, we ended up doing basically the most laps out of any car, the 60 cars that turned up, which was 417 laps, or about 2,700 Ks.
2,700 race kilometres.
Yep.
So that's what, I think you said it was 24 hours of racing over 3 days?
25, yeah.
Yep.
And the first day was 7 hours, then it was 10 hours, then it was 8 hours. So day. The best thing about that is you can, when you finish, you can go have a shower, you can go to the awesome restaurant upstairs and have some beers and hang out with the other teams and your mates.
So the first thing I noticed when I came in, obviously the tyre wear, you've got a bit of a story about that in terms of like, it's a bit like Days of Thunder, 50 laps my way, 50 laps your way type thing.
Yeah, no, in this race, so we're running the Nankang CRS and we could do the 25-hour race at the bend on 2 sets of tyres, and we did it last year, but Nankang sort of came to the party with us, and so we had the luxury of having 3 sets, 1 set per day, and it means we didn't have to worry about it. And believe it or not, that's not worrying about it. So left front cop it the most at the bend. I mean, it's clockwise track, but there's a few particular corners that really take its toll, and with so many different drivers, it takes a while to get your eye in. So if you're one driver doing the whole thing, you can really quickly learn and kind of go, all right, I'm going to be easy on the front left, but you throw, in the heat of the moment, you throw a new person in and they're out there in the middle of all the cars, and so all of a sudden, you know, it only takes a few sequence of laps to really start to take its toll. Yeah, front left always cops it. By the 3rd day, we'd actually learned a lot. It sounds silly because we've been doing it for 5 years, but we did learn a lot because it's the first time we've actually taken a step back and gone, maybe we should treat this like an endurance race because everyone gets in. And you know what, we don't do this. We do this so you can get in, you can send it, right? And everyone wants to have a go. You know, so we go out there and we send it, and it's like watching motorsport and Formula One. You've got to bring the tyres in gently. You really have to. And that's part of the fun as you get to this level. When you finish making the car reliable, you go, well, okay, well, how do we actually make it get to the end and get the most number of laps possible? And it is an interesting challenge. Day one, the front left was quite bald, but better than this. But again, it was 3 hours shorter. On day three, we got to the point where we had to do basically economy runs. And we'd said, okay, well, we've got a couple of laps lead. We need to maintain that. So we targeted a lap time, and all of a sudden, when we treated it like an endurance race, our tyres brakes lasted really well.
These tyres just look like you've done a few sprint sessions at your local track. They don't even look...
Yeah, they've done 8 hours.
That bad?
I know, right? So we should actually check the front left, but I think they're a lot better than the rest of them. So always learning, always evolving. And yeah, as I said, last year we did it on 2 sets. We did a cheeky left to right swap in the middle of a red flag, but yeah.
But surely you would have known that tyre is pretty cactus.
I mean, it looks bad. I'll agree with that. But yes, we know that when you get to the end of the day, like, you know, picture the cartoon race car with its tongue hanging out, going, you know, that's what it feels like, because it hit 34 degrees on the last day. Like, it wasn't cold out there, and it's just all day just beating on it. So that's why it's all about the coolers and reliability.
So all the oil temps and all that were great?
It was awesome, yeah. And one of the guys did full nerd on the new dash, the custom dash, and he got all the channels to work. And you'd be driving around, and on day three, because it got to such high temps, even though we didn't have a problem, we were trying to control a gap and maintain a lead throughout the entire day with the people chasing us. And we started, like, you know, on day three, we're like, all right, let's upshift at $5,000 instead of 6. And we did a little bit of lift and coast on like at the end of the straight, and you could immediately see 4 or 5 degrees coolant temp come out, 8 or 10 degrees oil temp, engine oil temp come out. And it was really good to be able to actually manage that and monitor it. It's just a whole new challenge. Right?
Yeah. And speaking of that, the transmission, how was that? Because this was really your big first race, wasn't it?
It was, and it's really funny. So we were on the grid at the start, and one of our other friends, they're in a team called Knucklehead Garage, and they're great blokes. They run a 350Z, and we were tussling last year for outright winner. They got us by 3 laps, and this time they were like, "You got a sequential," you know. And we're like, "No," and we kind of like tricked them for a bit, but like we said, "No, it's an auto," and they wouldn't believe us for like a whole day. They ended up breaking a gearbox later on just from temp. They hadn't fitted their cooler yet, which they were about to, but ran out of time. And we told them about it, and eventually we said, look, here's all the details. And that happened with like 3 or 4 teams. They're like, okay, what's the gearbox? What's the controller? But it was magic. It was absolutely magic. It did go into limp mode at the end of day 1. So for the last 2 laps, one of our guys was out there and he was stuck in 5th. So what it did, basically opened the converter, stuck it in 5th. Best gear to be stuck in. He was on limiter on the front straight, but otherwise it was like a mint gear. And he only went from like 4-minute laps to 4-minute 10. Yeah. So it didn't hurt us at all. We didn't know why, cleared the codes, but otherwise the gearbox was faultless realistically. It was absolutely perfect. And, you know, I enjoyed driving it even, you know, from a manual, and the other guys felt a lot more comfortable, and we're all just, you know, it was just beautiful. You can downshift and upshift anywhere. And that is the best bit. In spots where in a manual you'd have to lug a tall gear, or you'd have to rev it hard, you just pull the gear and you just pop it back whenever you want. So we ended up finding that why it went into limp mode, but it wasn't the gearbox's fault, it was another electrical issue.
And speaking of the laps, like because of the bend in South Australia, it's such a long track, you actually race different configurations each day, is that right? Yeah,
so day 1 and 2 are the big dog circuits, so 7.8 Ks all the way around, which is awesome, such a good track.
If you don't know, like I think Bathurst is about 6.2 or something.
Yeah, I don't know, but it is. Like that. I think it's the 2nd longest permanent track in the world after the ring.
I think it is.
I think that's what someone said. Yeah. So it's a beautiful facility. Like the whole place is amazing.
So you're saying that's a 4-minute lap in this?
3, 4. I think the best I did was a 3:43.
That's a long lap.
Yeah, it is. It's long. Average lap times. Yeah, when we settled in and we started to do sort of like endurance-based stuff, it was closer to like a 4-minute. Typically, most cars are circulating around like the high 3s, kind of low 4s. But it's enjoyable because there's so many corners, and the best thing about doing an endurance race and doing so many laps is you can learn them eventually, but it's a challenge the whole time.
I was going to say, how do you remember?
Yeah, and then day 3, so day 1 and 2 were the big track. Day 3 was the international, which is what the supercars use, and it's 4.3 Ks, I think. But you get this real cool sequence of right-handers, really awesome, fast right-handers. So yeah, it's fun. The one downside of the big track, we broke down at the very, very back.
Oh.
It took like 15 or 20 minutes to get the car back because it had to get flat towed by a Hilux really slowly. And that was our biggest drop of the race. So basically an earth strap came off under the bonnet, which I don't even know if we've touched. It just came loose. And we had these gremlins, which is what we think caused the limp mode. and we ended up losing 20 minutes. We ended up losing
So
5 laps.
in that situation, these endurance races, what, do they just go under a yellow flag type deal? Or?
Local yellows. So the bend is awesome because they've got all the technology. So sometimes very few red flags there. Some other tracks they'll just throw a red at any time. But basically they do a local recovery, yellow flag it as you're, as the tow truck's moving. So when you're circulating around, you've got to button off, no overtaking, and then go past a green, away you go again.
Yeah.
So it's again, amazing, world-class FIA facility, so they can do that.
One thing that's sort of got me intrigued is, can you do a whole day on one set of brake pads? Because that's a lot of kilometres.
You can, it changes by car. So some of the smaller, lighter cars, they could do a whole race. You take a Falcon or a Commodore and you struggle. So we're in this little kind of zone and we're still working out our brake balance too. We like at the end of day one, we're still kind of like, I'm not really using the rears. So we changed the bias, but realistically, I think I need a different master cylinder size in the front. We kind of got this bit where we're like, well, we've got half-used brake pads. And when brake pads get used, like they're a heat sink. So at the start, they're really good. But as you get lower, if you use 50% of the thickness, you don't have 50% of the life left because you've got that heat sink missing. So we're like, can we do 10 hours? Because you cannot stop for a brake pad change if you're in that position, You can if you want, but like if you want to stay out there and keep circulating, you don't want to run out. So it's a tough decision sometimes. So we've got lots of half-used brake pads that we try and put in for like the shorter days. This is what day one, these were brand new. We're still battling a little bit of taper wear on the pads, but there's 50% on there, maybe a bit under, but we're about to go into a 10-hour day. So if we use those on a 7-hour day, we threw a different set in, and then we ran a half set on day 3. So we've got a lot of half-worn pads. The rears, like these, you wouldn't run these again on a day just because like they're almost down and they wear so much faster at that point. So brake pads are actually quite a high cost in the race.
I was going to say, what's a front set of those worth roughly?
I think they're $500.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you're doing a lot of work. You're doing a lot of work on them. So they're not cheap, but brake pads are so important. We've got a lot of cooling in there, but it still just takes its toll. Day 2 night, one of the guys said, the seat feels a bit wobbly. We had a look, and that back right of the seat, the floor just cracked, like off the right-hand rear mount, it just cracked the floor and it started to grow. So it wasn't great. It wasn't great at all. And we went down to another team and said, you've got a welder. And they said, yep, here you go. And we had a 10 p.m. hard curfew, so we had to get done. It was a bit of a rush, actually. So we'd gone up and had a dinner. And went, we're running out of time. So we came back down. None of us are fabricators, and we don't pretend to be. But I managed to just bird shit my way through the cracks, and it's held. We actually needed a patch piece, so we went into the boot and found some redundant material we haven't cut out yet. We cut a patch of metal out, stuck it over, basically stitched up, and it lasted. Like it's got to get a proper fix now, but it got us through and it's still held. We've done 16,500 race kilometres in this thing, right? And we're not small, we're all over 90 kilos. One of the guys, like 110, he's a deadlifter. He's a big boy. And we're bouncing over curbs, got stiff suspension. It's not designed to take that. That's a lot of Ks. So, these things happen, we'll fix it, and it'll be good as new again.
Have you found anything else on the car that you probably need to address for the next long race?
I'm going to 3D print a duct for the wing mirror for the driver, and we'll run a window net.
All right.
Because it was hot. You get in, and this silver ducting, it's great. It blows hot air at you constantly. Like it's 30 degree air coming straight at your face, like, lovely. So we'll do a little bit of ducting work. But once we fix the seat, there's really nothing left to do. Like the oil, we changed oil grade too while we were there. So we've been running like a 1040 or a 1030 forever, a Castrol Edge, right? You go get it when it's half price. And it was just so cheap. But because we're now logging oil pressure and accumulator with that new install, accumulator pressure, when we ran that oil on day 1, you could see the accumulator was discharging almost every corner. Then we went to this 10W60 supercar oil, and we thought, that'll help a bit with pressures. We didn't realise that filling it to the exact same level, it never actually lost oil pressure more than once a lap.
Okay.
So the difference, just by going to thicker oil, it wasn't about the pressure. It doesn't, like I wouldn't have thought it made much difference with the sloshing and the sump, but it made a huge difference. So that new oil's been great for us, and with the cooler we can run it for more than just one day. So we might be able to run it for 3 days or something like that. So, but other than that, mate, it was bulletproof. There's usual things. You got to check brake pads, and the engine sounds perfectly fine and happy, and pretty good.
What about some of the other cars? You mentioned your friends broke the gearbox in the Nissan.
Yeah, so the guys, they were about to put a gearbox cooler in their 350Z. They said, I've run out of time, but they regretted it because it launched the gearbox, got stuck in 5th. It cooled down and it came out of gear. so it broke on day 1 or something, and then it cooled down. I said, I could run again now. And he said, I was going to go back out, but I had a few too many tins. So he left it, and they went back out in day 2, but they're great guys. But we got our other friends who shared a garage with us in a E46. They had a new motor, and they launched that, which was really gut-wrenching for them. But geez, it was down and good. It was fast before then. There was a Mirage down the road, and we had really good chats with them, and big block Myvec thing, and it was fast. Like when it was running, it was fast, but just shearing crank keyways and stuff like that. Our closest competitors, which were in an Impreza, so a naturally aspirated Impreza.
Hang on, are you saying a Subaru lasted 25 hours?
Well, it didn't. But that is a very reliable car, very smart campaigners, long motorsport experience, these guys, and they built a smart, lightweight car, well sorted, and it's always there threatening. And it was between us and them pretty much the whole time. And then they blew a clutch with about 25 minutes to go on day 2. But very resourceful guys. They got it back and running first thing for day 3. So that gave us like 4 laps or something like that.
That's why you could back it off a bit on the third day.
Well, that's why day 3 was just monitoring a gap. So we went out at the start and couldn't help ourselves and did a pretty quick lap early on when it was cool, and the Mirage was chasing us, and there were some guys in another car chasing us, and it was a bit, with the red mist. I was like, all right, let's settle down, and then target a lap time. So 2:17 was kind of like the fastest lap we did on the International, and then the race pace kind of settled down to like a 2:24, 2:25 would be what we would comfortably do, but we were actually doing 2:28s, 2:29s to take care of the temps and everything, the tyres. And then we were watching the Subaru, and it was going around. We were monitoring that gap the whole time. And then at one point, they put someone in. They thought, they were trying to run us down. So they're doing 2:24, 2:25. So because we can see it all in the pits, it's just a bit of gamesmanship. So threw in a couple of low 2:22s in this. And then later on that night, they were like, oh, you're just basing us. And it was fun. It was really good.
Yeah. So your message is anyone who wants to get into this, don't hesitate.
Oh, mate. And you don't start here. This is 5 years down the track. You don't come out and win the first time. You come out and you spend a while trying to figure out how to make the car reliable, which we did. Having a successful race, which for us means it stays together, or it's fun when it breaks and you fix it quick. If it breaks and you spend a day and a half in the pits, it's shit. But if you fix it quick, you send it back out, it's like, it's rewarding. But the fun starts when we get on the plane and we come here and we prep the car, we load the car, we get the fuel, we drive over, we drive the entire way for like 7.5 hours, don't play one song, and we just talk constantly and just have a good time. We race and then we come back and the same thing again. So yeah, highly recommend people get into it if they want to do it. It is still expensive, it's motorsport, but it is as budget as it gets. And you don't start here. We've been lucky recently, we've got a couple of sponsors which has really helped us do it. It's heaps of fun to build something, and it's an engineering challenge, right? Yeah. Building a car that survives is a challenge in itself, and I think we've picked a really good car. It's been really good to us in terms of just the durability and strength, and not getting it to do too much that it wasn't asked to do originally. But yeah, highly recommend it. It's heaps of fun, and just, don't take it seriously. We don't take it seriously, but it doesn't mean we can't have fun being competitive with the other teams, because they're the same.
Out of the full field, what sort of percentage actually finished?
There's a pretty high attrition rate.
Yeah.
Some don't even turn up on the first day. Some don't even get there. I don't remember the exact numbers, but if there was 60 kind of at the start, I feel like there was probably 30 circulating at the end. Yeah. Like there was a EA Falcon, and it was like, I think it had a Windsor in or something. Like it was like an old school V8. They ended up having an exhaust come out the bonnet to get it running to finish it. And it's funny when you sit there and go, oh, they're running again, like there's welders going, and the attrition rate's high. That's the challenge, right? Running till the end is the first step of coming to do a race like this. Get it to the end. And then the next step is, all right, well, how well can you do in your class and stuff like that? So, but look, at the end of the day, it's also about raising funds. And that was the highest fundraising event that they've ever done. Raised 30 grand for their rare cancers charitable donations and that. So that was really, really cool, So it's good to be a part of that as well.
A great way you can support Fullboost is to purchase some of our merch. We've got many different styles on offer, so what are you waiting for? Grab one today at shop.fullboost.com.au.
It's a cool trophy.
Yeah, they do a good job. They really put effort in, which is nice. And we're not there for the trophy or anything, but it is nice to have something that they put a lot of effort into, and we do appreciate it. One of the most satisfying parts was we got back, and this oil cooler that I did has not leaked at all. Like it hasn't even misted. Normally you do something like this and you just see like just misting or something. Looks like it's never been run, and I'm so stoked about that. But This flew off on the way there. That actually, that wasn't crash damage, even though it did hit another car maybe. But it went missing because the car was backwards on the way there because of all the fuel was at the front.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we got to replace that. It may have ended up like this after a particular overtake. And there's a black mark from our tyre on someone else's car.
I've got to check if it's recording, I can't. Why don't they just put a light on the front? It's a good upgrade over the Powerade bottle.
Yeah. That's what I used to run. Well, this car is held together aluminium tape.
Yeah.
So I had rolls of aluminium tape from HVAC stuff my neighbour threw away, and everywhere there's a hole, it's the lightest shit. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. All the air damming at the front is aluminium race tape. It's awesome. So basically the CAN keypad, it's over on the left there.
I'm sorry, this camera's over this.
Over there, buddy. That way.
Let's just wing it and you can chop it out.
Wing it. Is that your phone?
No, it's the front door. And go.